everybody, and welcome to season 2 of our podcast. Yep, we didn't quit in between our break. We did not. We are still here. We're back, and we're better than ever here with the beginning of, if you saw on our Instagram, you know what month it is. I mean, you know what month it is anyway, because, it's like a national thing. But you know what theme of our podcast it is. It is Pride Month. Whoop, whoop.
Woohoo! This one's exciting for me because I am personally a member of the LGBTQ plus community, so it feels like home to me. If you have a problem with that, I just say step aside from this podcast, and that's your own problem, not ours. Thank you.
Love that. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we're also on video. So that's fun for hopefully you people out there. Hopefully you like seeing us in the real life. We're trying something new. Maybe it'll last, maybe it won't. The world will never know, and we're in charge. So here we are. The film for this week is called 3 Generations, and as per usual, Hannah's got the recap for us.
Yes, I do. Here it is. 3 Generations tells the story of Ray. Ray lives with his mom and his 2 grandmas in New York City. Ray was assigned female at birth and wants to start testosterone treatments to turn his body into the person he was born to be. His mom is struggling with letting him start the treatments, and she also has to get Ray's father, it's a little spoiler, to sign the papers. The challenge with this is that Ray doesn't know who his real father is, and his mom doesn't want to tell him. After many tough decisions and conversations, Ray is finally going to be able to start the treatment to make his body his own.
What did you think about it, Hannah? Just right off the bat, initial thoughts of 3 Generations.
My initial thoughts were, this is what I wrote down exactly. Thought it was good, but also slow. I thought it told a good story, but I thought there were many parts where I felt like it was just like I was trying to walk through water. How did you like it?
There was a lot of meandering. I'm not gonna lie, I agree with you there. It's a drama, but they wanted witty commentary throughout it. It seemed like, the grandmas were, especially Maggie, who is the mom of Ray, Maggie's biological mom. She was a hoot and a holler and a half, but it was like that's all she was like the funny grandma or whatever. It's like you had no idea anything else about her. There wasn't a lot of deep character development with the side characters, and they were like having the same conversation over and over again, which I think is why it felt so slow, because the grandma that is directly like blood related to Ray and Maggie, I think her name was, the one was Honey, and I don't remember this one's name.
I feel like it's something with a D.
Dolly?
No, it's definitely another, like Honey was that. It was like Dodo or something.
Yeah, that sounds right. Something like that. Anyway, the not blonde one, I think she had like reddish brown hair. She was like pretty much against the whole like transgender thing from the beginning, and she herself is a lesbian, and so she was like, why can't, she just be a lesbian, like using the wrong pronouns a lot, and like trying to understand and trying to be like there, but also was like, I don't care, like, I'm an old person, like, whatever, like, I'm gonna say things that I say, because I'm old and that's how I grew up or whatever. So it was kind of a nice perspective to, like, have the, like, gay person be against the transgender thing or whatever, like, they were going for there, but it just seemed very contrived and very, like, what if the lesbian didn't like transgender people?
Well, eventually she does come around, which is great, but it was a struggle for me to where throughout the whole film, well, not the whole thing, but I'd say at least 3/4 of it, people keep misgendering Ray. They keep using the pronouns she, her, and calling her a girl and a granddaughter. And I didn't like that. It felt uncomfy to me. I understand that if you're transitioning or if you change your pronouns, it will take people a while to relearn your pronouns, I suppose. But it felt like this had been a process. I mean, Ray talks about knowing that he was a boy since he was 4, I believe. And if he's now 16, you would think in 12 years that they would be able to get his pronouns correct. I don't know.
Yeah, they talk about, I think they said explicitly, like, this has been a 10-year process or whatever. And they still kind of have the audacity to be like, I thought we were taking it slow, like the whole family, especially the mom and stuff. I think the mom's main problem was that she didn't want to have to go talk to the father on the birth certificate or the biological father in this situation, which, big spoiler, they're different people. So, I think that was the main problem, but she was like trying to hide behind the fact that maybe she wasn't totally on board, but like also she knew that she was. Like I really do truly believe that she was on board with her child transitioning and whatnot. She's been, I think, in this very stressed out situation at times. I don't even remember, did she misgender Ray that much? I don't remember it a whole lot by the mom.
Sometimes she would, but she would immediately correct herself to he. The
Mm-hmm.
one time where she really used the pronoun she is after Ray cuts his hair extra short. She tells the supposed dad, the dad on the birth certificate, but not the actual dad of Ray. She said she would never shave her head. And there she did not correct herself. But otherwise, if someone else misgenders Ray, she says he did this. And if they use her birth name, which is Ramona, she always corrects to say he, Ray. I mean, the grandma throughout the whole thing just keeps saying my granddaughter. And I don't know, that really pissed me off.
Yeah, and I do think it is, necessary to have different points of view in a film. You know what I mean? Especially when you're trying to maybe educate a population that might not agree or think that this is a thing that should happen. You should have the other side, and the other side not villainized. Like the grandma was never villainized or whatever in this, but it was shown like, do you kind of realize how ridiculous it sounds for you to be calling Ray by the wrong name and pronouns when Ray is clearly a dude? Like, you know what I mean? Which I liked that they were making it feel wrong the whole time, but weren't making wasn't making the grandma look like a total like asshat.
Right, I agree with that. And I also like how they show the mom's curiosity. She goes and sleeps with this guy who is presumably an ex or something. I don't know. They're definitely not friendly with each other. Um, but after they what appears to have had sex, she asks him about his penis and says, like, do you ever wish it was more inside you or neater, I think is the word she uses. And he's like, no, like I think it's perfect. And it was right after Ray had said something to his mom about I'm just a boy with a vagina or something, like how it doesn't belong. And the other thing I thought that was funny was Ray says, that's so gay. And his mom's like, you can't use that. And he's like, I'm a man with a vagina. I can say anything I want, or something like that, which I thought was funny.
I loved that line a lot, although I did hate the penis scene with the random dude. Like it just seemed so like, I don't know, fake to me, like a monologue, like she's trying to like say something about it. And I didn't like it, felt very phony to me. Like I don't care if y'all want to talk about penises or whatever, but it sounded really out of place.
To me, I just felt like it was her way of being curious. Like she wasn't going to turn to the internet and she had no one else to talk to. I just felt like that was the only person she could ask about. And then you could tell she was really uncomfortable with the topic and she just left. So I thought that that played well into it because she's like, well, how do I know that this is what he needs or something? I don't know. It just, to me, I liked it, but we don't have to have the same opinion on that. That's fine by me.
We are two different people, so it is good that we have different opinions, loving it, especially on like, I don't know, this movie, when you like look at it, should be a movie that you think everyone should just like, this is saying something, this is like monumental. But what I noticed was that it seemed more like a movie about the mom than about Ray, which is funny because the original name of the movie is called About Ray. In some places, it is called that when it went to like film festivals and stuff. That was the working title that they had. But now it's called Three Generations, which I'm just gonna say it's called Three Generations. You'd think all of the generations would be a little more developed in it, but the grandmas were just kind of like there to bounce ideas off of, I guess, by the mom, which is fine. And they did know some things that like helped reveal later, but I think they should have been more well rounded.
I definitely think they could have had more character development for all of the characters, but I also really, really liked how throughout the whole film they have this, I don't know if you want to call it montage, video, whatever. Ray creates this video all the time. He's recording things from his life and kind of overlays two different videos along with him talking about what's happening or an experience he's had. And I think it's really cool. And I wish that they had a moment where he like presented that to his grandmas and his mom and we got to see the whole thing. I was like, I want to see more.
Yeah, like I wonder if it was just one of those situations where they were like, we're kind of hyping it up, but there's no payoff. Like you just see like little scenes of it, which is fine, but like I don't know, it just seemed like yeah, I wanted to see it. I wanted someone to see it and like especially maybe yeah, his any of his fathers or his grandparents or anybody, you know, or know that he presented it like to a festival of some sort or whatever. I'm not sure, but I wanted someone to see it somewhere and not just, but maybe it was just his outlet, like to get it out himself and like be able to say what he wanted about himself and like do that kind of thing. It also, when he's working out near the beginning, it makes it sound like he has like a following online because he like records a video and is like, all right, guys, like I'm really building up my muscle or something, you know, and it sounds like he's talking to somebody because it sounded like he got suggestions from somebody and he was doing it this time like, oh, I'm no more ace bandages, like I think he got a binder instead and whatnot. So it sounds like he has somebody out there, you know, maybe a following, maybe a couple of people who like are giving him suggestions for his transition and stuff like that. And so I wonder if he's posting some of these online, like snippets of it, like the day-to-day life that he's living or whatever. So I wonder if it was that and that's why.
Yeah, he maybe is posting to YouTube and has people following him on YouTube. I would say Instagram, but when this was filmed, I guess Instagram came out before then. It was actually filmed in 2014. It came out 2015. If I'm remembering correctly, Instagram came out, oh, maybe it came out actually like 2012. So it could have been Instagram. And don't quote me on that. I'm not sure when Instagram came out. Um, but I definitely feel like he was posting videos and getting advice from people online. And we keep mentioning how he has two fathers. Well, the spoiler is he had a family with two parents, and I don't remember the dad's name. Do you?
Which one?
The birth certificate dad.
His name was Craig Walker.
Okay, so Craig Walker and Maggie, Ray's mom, were in a relationship and they weren't married, but they were basically married. She got pregnant, had a kid, they were raising this kid together. He left. They didn't really ever fully say why he left, except for like she made him leave. But then something that's revealed is that Ray isn't actually Craig's son. He is Craig's brother's son because Maggie cheated on Craig with Craig's brother. So that is one messy, messy storyline.
I don't know if I would ever forgive anyone in that situation. Like, if I was Craig and I found out that my brother slept with my girlfriend, I would hate both of them. Because they both I also don't even care if the brother, Matthew, thought that we had broken up. Because that's still weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a little weird on my end. I'd be like, I cannot forgive any of this for now. Like, it would take a very long time, which it did take a long time for Craig. He mentions that, but that's too sticky of a situation that I want to be involved in, and I would be very angry for a very long time.
Well, I do think it might differ too, just depending on your relationship and how the relationship you were in was, and then your relationship with your sibling. And I do think sometimes men and women have different reactions to having sex with people. And now Craig has moved on. He has a wife. He has 3 kids with that wife. And something that was funny to me, her name's Sin. I don't remember what her correct
And
name is. Cinda. And Maggie, Ray's mom, keeps calling her Simba. And then at one point she's like, I don't know, she's named after an elephant or something. And I was like, okay, this is funny. Because I could see that happening. Like, you're so worked up about a situation and you're just like, I don't know. That to me was funny.
Oh, I agree. I thought it was funny, and it was a layup of a joke, but it's funny, so it doesn't matter how easy of a joke that was to make because I laughed every time. So I will say, so while this film gave me some like conflicting views on like different things in it, I loved Elle Fanning's performance in it. I thought she did a fantastic job at playing Ray. And this is one of those times where I'm going to, like it would be, you know, nice to have a transgender person play a transgender person in a movie or a show or whatever. But this is kind of like a pretty traumatic experience, I feel like, for somebody, especially like pre-transitioning or whatever, to like find somebody to do that. Like, I don't know, maybe I have no idea, but I thought this was one of the situations where I was like, okay, having a woman play a pre-transitioned, like physically, like pre-transitioned medically person was a fine choice. I don't know. That's my opinion on it. It definitely can be wrong. Like, roast me, I don't care. Like, that's just how I thought about it. Like, whereas I've seen other shows like The Fosters or whatever have transgender people played actual transgender people and stuff like that in it. Like, I think that's very much needed in media and whatnot. But I wasn't upset that they had Elle Fanning, who I'm pretty sure identifies as a girl, play Ray.
First of all, I love The Fosters. If you haven't watched it, you should check it out. Second, uh, I was kind of mixed opinions on that because I was like, is this morally correct? Like, is it okay to have a person who's not transgender play a person who's transitioning? But I was thinking kind of something along the same lines of, if you're someone actually going through this, would you want to document that, or would you be excited about that? I don't know. It might be hard to find a person who's okay with showing it. I don't know. And I've never been in the position of transitioning, so I can't tell you what it feels like or what it would feel like to talk about that experience. I don't know if it would be super overwhelming or too hard to film. I don't know. I just can't get in that headspace because that's not my own personal experience. So I don't know. Maybe we'd have to ask someone who's transitioned to see if they think that's okay. But I think also someone who's transitioned could have a different opinion than someone else who's transitioned. Just like I'm okay with a straight person playing a gay person as long as they portray it well. Just like I think gay people can play straight people. You know, I don't think that it has to be so strict, but there are gay people who think that you should only play a gay character if you're gay and you should only play a straight character if you're straight. And I think that that's a valid opinion if you have that opinion.
Like, that's why it's called acting, I guess. Like, because you're acting as someone you're not, whereas, you know, I think you can edit a role to fit with the best actor available. Like in the musical Oklahoma recently, the stage musical, they had a woman in a wheelchair play the main character on Broadway. So I think that even though the original script didn't call for somebody who's in a wheelchair, like, she obviously was the best person for the producer, director, whoever who auditioned, and they chose her. So I think that there is room for like change in original scripts to have like somebody else play the role, and there's also some room for people to play roles different than themselves. And I do think there's a line. I don't know what the line is at the moment. Like, I would have to really just like sit down and break down like every single situation, I guess. You know what I mean? To like decide whether or not this is crossing a line or not. And I don't really think I'm the person to make that decision because I don't identify as most of the things that I would like be considering, because I'm literally a straight white chick in the middle class living her best life, just chilling around over here. And I don't know if I would qualify as someone who would make these decisions on what is crossing the line. So
Right. And I think for acting in general, no one's telling their exact story. Everyone is acting. It doesn't matter how close a story is to yours, you're not being yourself. That is literally the point of acting. You're acting something else. You're telling a story. And so I agree that there's obviously certain lines that probably shouldn't be crossed. Like, I don't think a white person should play a black person. I don't think maybe mixing races is a good idea. You shouldn't be playing someone you're not. I don't know, though, like I said already, for me personally, I don't see the problem of a straight person playing a gay person if they play it well. I don't see a problem with a gay person playing a straight person if they play it well. Um, for me, I didn't think that there was a problem with what we understand to be a cisgendered female playing a transitioning person because I felt like it told the story well. However, we could be wrong because, like we already said, we are not people who have transitioned, so we don't know if this feels inauthentic to people who have transitioned. Um, but yeah, I just think it's honestly, no matter what you do, someone's going to say you did something wrong. Right. And I think that if you are trying to do your best and the actors you choose are trying to do their best and tell the story in the most authentic way as possible, I think that you're doing your best. And literally, you could do everything by the books and someone will say you did something wrong.
I mean, everybody's got an opinion and a lot of them are going to share it. So I think that regardless of most of people's opinions, most of them are valid. There are people who don't like people of different races. You're wrong. But other than that, like, there's a lot of things that are varied and both sides are valid, or all 12 sides of whatever opinion there is are valid, you know, because it's not always a spectrum of one or the other. So, was there anything in this film that you hated?
Yep, there was actually. I
Ooh.
did not see a single point to the stupid freaking paper ball in the backseat. The way they shot this, so Maggie crumples up the what are they called? Permission slips for Ray to be able to get testosterone treatments. And she throws them in the backseat of the car, and the ball clearly changes size and shape, sort of. And it's like rolling around in the backseat. And it looks like the most fake thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And I hated it. Like every single second, I was like, this is stupid, 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 stupid. I don't like it. That's, yeah.
All right, so when I asked you that question, that if I had to make a list of every scene in the movie, probably the last one I would have thought of. But you're not wrong. Like, it was pretty dumb. And like, I don't care how you're driving, it will never do that. It will never roll like literally perfectly from one side of the car to the next. Yeah, it was pretty dumb. It was pretty funny. And I'm glad I asked that question. Like, damn, that was pretty good. That's a good answer.
What about you?
One of the things I disliked the most was that a lot of the lines about being transgender seemed very, very like generic. Like, okay, I'm looking through all of the things that I've heard people say about transgender life and I'm going to put them all in. Like, at the very beginning, I think it was Ray is narrating and is like, when I blew out the candles on my birthday cake or something, I made a wish, and that wish was to be a boy. I'm like, okay, I can get past that. It's the first narration of the film, but then there were lines of like, you know, when he's explaining it to Craig's kids, you know, he's like, I was born in the wrong body, or like, gosh, what else? Yeah, or just like, um, explaining it like, oh, he'll grow out of it, things like that. They just seemed like very, very, very generic. And I can understand when you're explaining it to a kid, it might sound like that. But I thought, like, when Craig was like, well, will he grow out of it or whatever, when he's arguing with Maggie about it and stuff like that, it's like, I don't know, like, these just seemed really generic and not as creative as they probably could have been.
I get that, but I also feel like those generic or stereotype remarks are there for a reason because as someone who came out, as someone in the LGBTQ plus community, those common responses that you hear for different reasons of coming out, I encountered the common responses very frequently. So I like knew what I was going to be expecting from the people. So to me, I was like, well, that might seem generic or exactly like they like that's what everyone would say, but in my personal experience, a lot of the people who reacted was exactly like the way that you would expect someone to react, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that is very true. But I wonder if it just felt scripted, maybe because maybe there's just a lot of other lines in there that just seemed like the penis scene, in my opinion, felt very scripted, or like a lot of the stuff. Like, the actors were great. I thought a lot of the actors were pretty good, and maybe it was just the script in general that just seemed like subpar at times. And so maybe it just came across at times like this isn't what they would say in this situation at this time, like they were forcing these specific lines out at these times. And maybe that's what I was getting when I was watching it.
I would agree with that. I feel like the actors did really good at working with what they had. I feel like sometimes they had more potential than what was written for them, right? However, I must say the mom sometimes bugged me because she seems so overly dramatic. I don't know if I just don't like super dramatic people, but Naomi Watts is who is the actor who plays Maggie. I like her work. She plays, I don't know the person's name, but the series is called Gypsy and is on Netflix, and I thought that was really good. I really liked her acting in that she is actually a therapist who is married to a man, but then she falls for a woman, sort of, and I don't know. So it's kind of interesting to see her in two different LGBTQ plus films, but very different personalities in both the things.
She was super dramatic, and I think it was a very selfish reason to be dramatic in a lot of it. Like, it was happened years ago, like at least 16 years ago, because Ray is 16. You know what I mean? Like, also, here's my thing. If you're gonna cheat on someone, use the contraceptives so that you don't have this problem. I know sometimes they can fail, but like, there must have been just a moment of passion. Like, I understand both birth control and condoms can fail and that children have been born that way, but I swear, like, you think you'd like try really hard to just make sure, like extra protection. I don't know what you got to do that, but
Abstinence.
abstinence also, that is how you do not have a baby. Yep, the one and only way.
Yeah, for me, it's like the way that her character is. I feel like the whole cheating situation was going on for a while. That's just the way I feel about it and her character. I could be completely wrong, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, and the whole like her being dramatic, like she, yeah, like I said, it was very selfish, and she just made it all like about her. Like, this whole situation of Ray transitioning was like about her and not her child. And I was like, be a better mom. I don't know. I just like was so frustrated. And people are selfish. People are so selfish. So it wasn't like it was unrealistic to life or anything, but I just was like, why are you like this? I just want Ray to be happy. And I don't know how realistic it is that they have to get, both parents on their, to sign it, especially like that just seems like it could be a real thing, but like, what if Ray only has one like legal guardian? Like, did they never just like say that Craig wasn't a legal guardian ever again? Because some people literally like have not married parents who broke up, and like he paid child support. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he wasn't in the picture. You know what I mean? It just seemed like a whole conflict that could have been avoided. And that maybe if they just got both the grandparents to sign it too, you know what I mean? Like, since he's living under their roof. I don't know.
Yeah, that was interesting. And I have no clue if that is real or accurate, or maybe it was accurate at the time and it's not now. We have to remember, mm, no, I could be wrong, actually. I was gonna say, well, how long ago was gay marriage legalized?
In 2016.
2016. Okay, so when this was being filmed, when it came out, that wasn't even on the table yet. Like, gay marriage wasn't legal. So the rules for things really could have shifted, in the last 6+ years since this came out
Probably
or
not a
has
whole
been
lot
filmed.
because the world sucks, but
Okay, true. Our policies don't change that drastically that often, especially on gay rights or LGBTQ plus rights. Um, but I don't know. I have no clue. And maybe it's different because he's under the age of 18, you know?
yeah, no, I'm sure that's like a big thing in it. But if you have like proof that the parent was paying child support, that totally sounds like there was a court issue at some point. Like, they went to court about it. Because why would you like have records of child support? Like, if he was just giving you money every month as quote unquote child support, like, she wouldn't have to go to that business or the DMV or wherever the heck social worker place that she was at asking for like the guy who used to pay her child support. Like, it sounds like it was a very legal problem or legal thing that had happened. So there should be proof somewhere that he is no longer Ray's guardian. You know what I mean? Plus the fact that he's married to a different person now. Isn't there like a workaround somewhere that you could go with that would, okay, what if I sign it and then, yeah, like the two other people that Ray lives with also sign it? You know what I mean? I don't know. It just seems like it could have been avoided, but I understand we needed the whole drama of the brother being the real dad. I understand, but still.
Well, plus legal things like that are really confusing, and it seems like sometimes there's so many loopholes or things you don't know about. For example, When I have kids in the future, I plan that I'm not going to be the carrier of the children. So I would like my wife to carry my children, our children. When she gives birth, my name can go on the birth certificate as parent number 2. However, it is not legal. I will still have to adopt my kids if I want that to be like a legal thing. As of right now, that's how the law is. I can be on the birth certificate as a parent, but I would still have to legally adopt my children.
That's offensive. What the frick? Okay. That we love America. Love America. So proud to be an American. Anyway, that sounds messed up, but now, okay, I get it. I can get where like the loophole stuff comes in. So I think that's funny though that like you have to do that, whereas like a man and female couple, like they didn't have to prove that that guy was the father. You know what I mean? He technically adopted that kid.
Right. Yeah, like for them in their situation, that's not even his kid, but he's on the birth certificate, and that is fine. They grant that to be legal guardian or whatever. But then how come someone like a couple who's married just because they're the same gender or different than, maybe lacking genders, whatever, why is it because it's not a man and a woman that why do things have to not be legal then? I don't get it.
I read a review of this movie by Emily Yoshida, and I don't remember where this was published, but she said that, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I thought it was a good quote, so I'm going to say it and we can talk about it. And she said, 3 generations wants to be about trans issues more than it really wants to live in them. What do you think about that?
Okay, I'm trying to dissect that in my brain. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, 3 generations wants to be about trans issues without actually living in them.
Okay, yeah. I feel that because I feel like is trying to say that this whole film was about, being trans, transitioning, what's that like living with that uh living that experience. But like you already mentioned, it is mostly about his mom and her experience with having a child who's transitioning. I will say the one part where I felt really real, like it was really truly happening, was when Maggie is going to talk to Ray's fake dad, birth certificate dad, about whatever. And then Ray hears that Maggie had actually slept with his brother. And then Ray is like, oh my gosh, like it's not going to happen. And he just starts screaming. And he's like, you ruined it. You ruined it. You ruined everything. It's not going to happen now. You ruined everything. And just the sheer terror in his voice and anguish and like, I can't go on living if I have to live this way a second longer. That was the one moment that felt really real to me. I don't know how you felt about that.
I literally have goosebumps thinking about it. I legit was like, I hope Hannah says this part. You know what I mean? Like I hope that's where they're going on that. But oh my gosh, I thought that the same exact thing. You know what I mean? I was like, I was shocked. Elle Fanning is so good. Also, I really liked when Ray and his mom were like talking about how they have to move or whatever, and Ray's like jumping on the bed just like so excited. Like it was so cute, and I liked that because okay, some of this stuff was very good and authentic. Like I was shocked by how good this movie could be, and then like you said earlier, and like I said earlier, like it just felt like it was saying the same thing over and over again. It felt like 300 hours long. But I liked the jumping on the bed scene because the way he was like squealing and excited and everything, like that is something that you would normally portray as like this feminine thing, but it was Ray doing it as Ray and like feeling himself, you know what I mean? And like it didn't feel girly or anything like that. It felt like this is a kid and he's so freaking excited that he can't contain his joy. And I never once was like, that's Elle Fanning. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is Ray, because it was like, he was also like the most vulnerable and like open with his mom there too, because he's like not wearing a binder. He's wearing like just normal clothes and just expressing himself without trying to like, I know a lot of people knew that he was trans, but like, I feel like for a lot of it, you're trying so hard to portray yourself the way that you want to be portrayed, or that's how it seemed in this film, was that he was trying very hard, especially because he wasn't capable of medically transitioning yet, that there's a lot of pressure on the way you look. But I liked this scene because it was like, it doesn't matter if you medically transition or if you even like wear a binder or physically transition, what you look like. If you say you're a boy and you feel like a boy, you get to be a boy no matter how you act or look. Like, there isn't a specific box you have to fall into, especially like, I know a lot of people online have talked about like non-binary people like feeling the need to look androgynous, which is like, no one is owed that. You know what I mean? So I liked this scene because I've seen a lot online about people like saying like, or even in other portrayals of shows or things with transgender people, like if it's a trans woman, they always have to be wearing makeup and dresses and heels. It's like, that's not what it means to be a woman. Like, I don't know if you're on YouTube and the video works here. Like, I'm literally wearing a hoodie and like a vest, and like, I'm not dressed stereotypically like a woman right now. Like, Hannah's got like a long sleeve shirt. Like, what's up? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not dressed girly or anything. So I think that was a great scene, just showing that side without like really being like, we're showing this side now.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like the whole not fitting into boxes things because it's like daily, I feel like I'm describing to people that the way you look does not have anything to do with your gender or with your sexual orientation. Like people think that I look straight presenting. Okay, well, guess what? I'm not straight. And I also identify as non-binary woman, where I do feel like a woman, but I also feel like I fall in the category of non-binary. And sometimes it does match up with what I'm wearing. Sometimes if I'm wearing a little more androgynous type clothing or mask type clothing, I feel a bit more non-binary, but sometimes that's not true. Sometimes if I'm wearing something like this, I feel just as non-binary as if I was wearing clothes that don't really show my gender. Or sometimes I feel the most like a woman when I'm literally in all men's clothing. Like that's just how I feel like a woman. It doesn't matter what type of clothes I'm wearing or what I'm doing. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter how someone looks. You can never assume their gender or their sexuality just based on what they're wearing. It doesn't matter if a guy is wearing makeup and has his nails painted. That doesn't make him gay. Like doing those things doesn't make a guy gay. If a girl is wearing a tux and has super short hair, that doesn't make her gay either, and it doesn't mean that they aren't cisgendered. It literally means that they're a person expressing themselves how they choose to express themselves. I thought it was interesting that this was filmed in 25 days. To me, that seems like a short amount of time. So it's filmed in 25 days in 2014. And the other thing that I thought was interesting because it was filmed so quickly, maybe that's the reason why it could be filmed here. It was filmed in New York City and Westchester County, New York, which I know we've discussed previously on last season that New York's an expensive place to film. So a lot of times New York scenes are filmed in Toronto, but I thought that it was interesting that it was actually filmed in New York.
Oh yeah, same. It felt like New York City. You know what I mean? Like the apartment, the alleyways, just whatever. And then I'm pretty sure the other place that you named was where like Craig lives, out in the middle of nowhere. Like, he lives in like this fantasy beautiful house that's like all glass windows and like on a mountainside or whatever.
Yeah, and when Ray took what was it? A train? No, it's not a train. What did he take to Craig's house? Was it a train?
Bus?
No, it's not. It's definitely not a bus.
Probably a
It's a
train.
train. It's like an Amtrak train because
Yeah.
it reminded me so much of when my brother and I went to Boston and Maine a few years ago. We took a train, an Amtrak train from Boston to Maine, and the landscape was nearly identical. It brought me right back to being on the train. I was like, whoa.
That's so funny. No, I liked the scenery a lot in this film. The aesthetic was very artsy New York, for sure.
I feel like that is all that I have to say about that. Do you have anything else to say, Rachel?
No, just to follow us on our Instagram, as some of you knew ahead of time what this month's theme was going to be. There's also just going to be fun stuff on our Instagram from time to time. You'll know the movies ahead of time on there. And that would be, you could follow it at youtalkintome.podcast. We also have a Twitter account at youtalkintome11. If you remember, it's because we're both number one. You can also email us suggestions, questions, fun little comments, fun facts about maybe the films we've watched at youtalkingtomepodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we are now going to be trying to do video if we can figure this out. This one I think is going to work out very well as a video. So hopefully you like it. If you don't, let us know in the comments below, but just subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on the notifications, give us a like. And Hannah, anything else that I'm missing? Because I know there's got to be something.
I don't think you missed anything, but we're excited to be back. I hope that you are just as excited about season 2 as we are. And with that, yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say.
I do think that now that I'm thinking about it, we missed the intro. I'm Rachel.
Did we?
We missed it. Anyway, we're just so excited about season 2, guys, but we'll end it the same way. Don't you worry. I'm Rachel.
I'm Hannah.
And this was the, in case you didn't know this whole time, the You Talkin' to Me podcast.
Bye!